He's the executive regional director of Convention of States. And what's your region again, Ken?
I have the Southeast region, all the way from Ohio down to Louisiana, including Colorado. So Colorado is part of my region.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So, well, that's really cool. You're so far south now. I didn't realize that. So that's terrific. So you still work very closely with Chris Cook, who's also the state director of Convention of States here in Colorado.
Oh, you bet. And it makes sense that Colorado would be part of my region. I mean, it doesn't make sense geographically, but it does make sense because I know all the legislators.
Yeah.
I know all the players.
Yeah, of course. By the way, before we jump back into it, you made the mention of not really having a voice for the liberty movement and for the legislature now on the radio, and that's true. I can't tell you, even at the summit and at other Republican or conservative or Tea Party events that I go to, the actual elected officials who come up and say, man, we've got to get that voice back out there because there's a difference now. We're not able to move the conversation like we were able to. So there's got to be a place and an ability to get that done. That's something you and I need to keep talking about. So anyway, I don't want to run you out of time. The Convention of States is so important, and on this particular holiday, people need to know what it is. So lay it out for people who may not be scratching their head saying, what in the world are they talking about? Article 5 of what?
Well, it's Article 5 of the Constitution, and the way we set this up is we ask the rhetorical question, do you honestly believe Washington, D.C. is capable of fixing itself? And the only answer to that question is no. So then you have to ask, what do we do? Well, our founders, our brilliant founders who gave us the Constitution knew. They knew because they understood human nature that ultimately we would face a crisis like the one we are facing right now with our country. And so they gave us Article 5. Article 5 of the Constitution simply says that there are two ways to amend the Constitution. Congress can propose an amendment, or the states can get together in the form of a convention and propose amendments to the Constitution. Now, either way, any amendment would have to be ratified by 38 states. So the question becomes, we know Congress is never going to do anything to regulate themselves. So therefore, we the people, through our state legislators, 34 states need to apply to have a convention, and then we can go propose an amendment. And so let's say we want to balance the budget. We can do that. The states can get together and propose a balanced budget amendment. The states can get together and propose an amendment which would redefine the Commerce Clause back to its original intent. Think about that. The Commerce Clause is completely abused by the United States Supreme Court. We can rectify all of the Supreme Court's abuses when they make decisions. And let's face it, Randy, you and I both know this. Every time the Supreme Court makes a decision, like on Obamacare, they are effectively amending the Constitution. So what we need to do is we need to change that back to the Constitution as it's originally intended, as opposed to the Constitution that is interpreted by the Supreme Court, because that's where we've gotten into trouble. And whenever you hear those politicians saying, well, we're following the Constitution, are they or aren't they? Well, they're following the Constitution as interpreted by the Supreme Court, and that's a problem. That's why we have a runaway government. That's why we have runaway spending.
Obviously, we're not going to have time to, spell out the process or all that, because you could spend an entire show doing it. But for people who are interested in it, what's the website? What are the basics that they need to know right now, and how can they help you?
Well, they need to go to conventionofstates.com. That's conventionofstates.com, and you can read about all of this. You can figure out exactly what it is we're trying to do. You can see that it is a very safe, viable way to rein in Washington, D.C. But the only way we're going to get Washington, D.C. to quit spending and to quit over-regulating is for we the people, through our state legislators, to take the power back. It is the only tool our elected officials have to fight back against Washington, D.C. It is the only legal constitutional tool we have, Randy. I think it's high time we used it.
So you said it takes 38 states to call a constitutional convention or a convention. I stopped myself. Go ahead.
It
fix
is
it.
not a constitutional convention. It takes 34 states.
Convention of states to propose amendments to the Constitution.
Yes, absolutely. A constitutional convention is a very different thing.
Yeah.
And that's not what we are after.
You can see I'm a little out of practice.
States. Yeah, but it takes 34 states to call.
How many you got so far?
We've got 8 states so far, and we are obviously moving and building. We have got 1.6 million supporters nationwide. We've got 600,000 hardcore supporters. We have active chapters in every single state.
How long has it taken to get to 8? And of course, a snowball gathers steam and size and speed while it's rolling downhill. So, how long did it take you to get to this point? How long has the conventionofstates.com website and project been in place?
We've been around for 2.5 years. That's it.
That's it. Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
So this is a really big deal.
You bet. And it is remarkable to get this kind of support in that short amount of time. I mean, I love the work that Americans for Prosperity does, but they've been around for over a decade. I mean, and we are a brand new fledgling organization, and we're gaining support every day. We're getting over 1,000 new volunteers a day.
That is absolutely incredible, Ken, and that makes sense now why there were so many people piled into your breakout session at the Western Conservative Summit. So conventionofstates.com, that's where people can go. You need money, you need supporters, you need people who are willing to learn, to present, I imagine you've got packages that people can, sign on or download that give them the talking points, allow them to go deeper into the history if they want to. All of that's available at conventionofstates.com.
Everything anybody would ever need to get involved is available at conventionofstates.com, and we have got tools like you wouldn't believe that help people get involved. Tools that will teach you about the process, about Article 5, about conventionofstates.com, and it's a turnkey operation. Everything you need to know, everything you need to see is there. We talk about what our opposition says and why it doesn't hold water. And, everything you would need is at conventionofstates.com, Randy. I'm really excited about this. It is the only solution out there that is as big as the problem.
Yeah,
and we say that because it's true.
2 years, 8 states. How many states do you think you'll have within the next year or so?
It's really hard to gauge. Some states that we thought we should pass didn't. Other states that we never thought we'd pass did. So, it's a lot of fun. It's exciting because I get to travel around and go to these hearings. And so it's really hard for me to make that prediction, Randy.
Sure.
I know that we're going to continue to build momentum, and I think this is something that we're going to get done in the next couple of years.
Well, there's no better day than today, on the 240th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. If you're fed up with elections, if you're fed up with broken promises, if you're fed up with the two-party system, to look at the true grassroots power to actually reform Leviathan, to reform the Supreme Court, to, like you said, term limits, one of the big ones that everybody talks about but will never, ever pass Congress. And so I encourage everybody to go to conventionofstates.com, learn more, get involved. This is just another one of the many, many, and perhaps the most important way that we can push back regardless of the outcome of this next election. Final word, Ken?
Well, and that's the beauty of this, Randy, because Article 5 was designed to circumvent Washington, D.C., and circumvent Congress. We, the people, can actually change it. This is how we take the power back from Washington, D.C., and give the power back to the states where it was originally intended to be. And Article 5, the conventionofstates.com, is the way we do it. And, Randy, I cannot tell you and thank you enough how much I appreciate your support in this effort. I mean, it needs to happen. We need to do it now.
Well, anybody who enjoys my time on the radio and thinks I sometimes do a good job, thank Ken. For the rest of you, for most of you, Ken's private phone number is 303. It's your fault, pal. It's your fault.
I'm more than happy.
I actually went on Grassroots Radio as an advertiser, and that's what got me invited in to talk. And man, that's been 4 or 5 years now. And I really do thank you for everything that you're doing, and for also helping give me a voice in radio and elsewhere with the start back on Grassroots Radio. I really do appreciate it, Ken.
Well, we need all the patriots we can get out there fighting a good fight. So yeah, we're gonna have our disagreements, but I'll tell you what, everybody needs to be fighting. Everybody needs to be trying to save this country.
God bless you, sir. Happy Independence Day.
We only have one Congress. We have 50 state legislatures, and we have the power to rein them in.
Founding Fathers put an article in. It's called Article 5.
We've been blessed. Our founders knew that our federal government would get out of control.
We don't have to repeat history. Here's Article 5. States, take back your power.
This is an opportunity.